co-host and coach and mentor, Coach Stacey. What's up, Coach? How was your weekend?
So it was rather uneventful. So not a bad weekend at all. Sometimes
Okay,
we had
you're
a trip
laying low
coming up.
these past couple weeks. You've been laying low. I was just gonna ask, do you have
Laying
something coming up
low.
soon? Is that what's going
Yeah,
on
yeah,
here?
yeah. Got a trip to Texas tomorrow, working with the leadership team out there for a couple of days, and getting ready for that. A couple other things going on, working on. So it was uh, it was nice. It's always good. I love the trips. I love going to help people. It's always good to be home too, though.
Yes, I
How about you?
agree.
What was on your
I
agenda
agree.
for the weekend?
Oh man, I think we got to have a pretty lazy, uneventful weekend, which is kind of nice too. So yeah, it was. I think it was just fishing in the back pond is what we did, which is
Well,
always fun.
now I'm jealous.
Yeah, it was very fun. Again, it's just fun seeing even having that is just a blessing. So, yeah, I didn't get to have that. So seeing the kids have that is amazing. But man, this next guest. So I want to get right into that. So, Beau, crazy. We met just a little over a month ago, and like I met some of my previous guests. Shout out to you. You guys know who you are. On the previous show of Sales Chatter Live and those things. Um, it was he reached out by a message on LinkedIn. And now here for all of you people out there who are selling, especially if you are trying to sell on LinkedIn, which again, this is the way to sell somebody on LinkedIn even.
Yeah,
But you'll
and
see,
most of you are trying to sell, and many of you, because I get the messages every day, are not hitting the mark.
I, yes, and that's yeah, I get those every day too. And most of the time, I'm like, did you look at my profile? Like, I'm not even in trucking. It might have said it a while ago, but like, I don't have trucks. Why are you selling? Like,
It's
for y'all, I
it's pushing me off of LinkedIn a lot of times because I don't wanna have to weed through the stuff, but then when you get a good one, it really makes it stand out. So the good news is, you can stand out with just a few little tips.
yes, you can, and this is how. So I got the approval from Beau. This was his message on September 6th, and it was podcast host looking for inspirational and empathetic people. DJ, I saw that you were a man on a mission. Thanks, Beau. Um, in that way, I feel we are alike because my podcast, Auxano, which Beau is inspiring and starting a podcast himself. So we'll talk a little bit about that, Auxano, and what it means. And he does tell me it. So it means causes of change in Greek, where I speak with my guest and get to know their story. Humans have been able to shorten the learning curve because people tell their individual stories. I pray this reaches you so you might bless the others who don't have a DJ Flores as a resource yet. So, Beau, first off, flattery gets you everywhere. So, thank you for that. Um, but on top of that, it really was the message, and I was like, okay, I got to meet this kid. I got to connect with this kid. So I literally connected with him. Then researched him like I do. Found out he's actually in my new neck of the woods, which is Virginia Beach. And so I'm like, get out of here, dude. You're local. We got to get together. So found out more of his story. We connected over a phone call. Uh, he then was like, I'm trying to grow this thing. I need to network. I'm not very good at that. I'm like, hey, funny you should mention that. I actually do a lot of networking. So so I invited him to BNI, came to BNI, and it was crazy. He was the hot ticket there. Very needed service in that world, y'all. And then on top of that, he showed up at BizConnect. And so he's did all the right things, y'all, for to make a sale. Now he hasn't sold me anything, and we're gonna get into that too because here's what I'll tell you: he's following a method. It's a guy I talk about all the time. Mosey Nation, give, 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 and keep giving until they ask you what else you do and how they can pay you. Now you don't have to sell. That's marketing done right. That's what we're gonna get into, and I can't wait to have Beau come out. So, Coach, anything before we get it going?
Yeah, let's kick it off, man. I'm ready to go. This is going to be fun.
You get one heartbeat song. Take it seriously. This is your masterpiece.
What's up, my friend? So, new friends, but man, you inspire me to see kids motivated to do what you're doing. That's who I really want to inspire in the end. Because again, I feel like for a lot of my life, I was questioned of my path. Get a real job. I was told a lot. Sales and commission sales is not a real job. Certain things like that. Dude, when I heard that and when we first had that talk, you're like, in the military, Navy, this is what I did. I had this choice, and this was our first talk, and you're like, I had this choice of either I'm gonna get this really good job because of my experience, or start this business, and I want to do this. And I was like, wow. So get into that. Where did that mindset come from? Tell everybody a little bit about you, again, just a little backstory to you.
Yeah, I do want to ask, like, how is the show like PG? Is it like rated R?
No, no,
Just
no.
authentic conversation.
It's yeah, totally open.
So I will say that
Authenticity, Beau. Authenticity. Be yourself.
Oh, I
That's
love
right.
that. I love that. All right. Well, I was actually standing post. I was guarding nukes at the time. I'm out of the military now, so I'm sure I can say this. I was guarding nukes at the time, and I realized that I was no longer chasing. Well, I was no longer serving a purpose I believed in. I was no longer chasing purpose that I believed in, and so I wanted to do something different. That it was a matter of ascertaining myself. I think it was a matter of finding out what I truly love. And I think the Japanese concept of ikigai, I think, explains it pretty well.
What? No, what is that? You can't leave us there. I have no clue what that means.
Yeah. So ikigai is the concept of what you can get paid for, how you can help the world, what you're good at, and I believe what the community needs from you. So I decided that let me go ahead and shelf the gun, so to speak. Let me not stand post, and let me find something that I truly believe in. My military experience was a huge stepping stone for me. It paved the way for discipline. It paved the way for these connections. Me being able to have the courage to post LinkedIn messages, and yeah.
So now your LinkedIn messages, they've gotten other responses, and you've had some guests on your show, and get into a little bit about the show. So, and Deseo Media. I mean, tell them what Deseo Media is, what your focus is, and a little bit of that background as well.
Yes.
Because I know with the martial arts, that it's just cool to share that too.
Yeah, yeah. So with the podcast, my podcast is called Auxano. Auxano in Greek means the causes of change. And yeah, since time immemorial, we've been able to learn through our personal stories. Oratory and written stories were how we really learned in the past. And so people have and should have a propensity, I think, to speak about personal stories as a way for growth, because you aren't just your job. You aren't just a dad. Like you have a whole life that, even if it was a minute piece of information that you feel like was maybe irrelevant to one person, it could be the spark that inspires them to go off on their own adventure. As far as Deseo Media Company, it's really just the standard. I would even quote unquote digital marketing. Um,
Yeah.
Granted, that's not the direction that I would try to traditionally go, but as of right now, yeah, we do photos, videos, photography, not photography, photos, videos, and a podcast. But the focus of it is to hopefully represent brands. So, for example, John's Diner and Burger King, it would be to take photos, take videos, but the focus would be to actually talk to the owner of John's Diner or Burger King. And then with the podcast, shoot it out and shotgun between TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat, essentially any place that you can consume media. And so that is really my focus, is not necessarily trying to make a bunch of money right away. Actually, I know that you're a fan of Alex and Layla
Yeah.
Hormozy,
Yes,
and
sir.
they talk about how, actually, I think Alex has a famous quote: "A lot of people aren't willing to not be paid for 12 months, and it ruins them because they should give and then develop and ask. They should create a robust system of giving stuff for free." And so for me, that's kind of what the podcast is.
So let me ask you this, and thanks for serving. We do appreciate that a lot. That
Yeah.
takes
Thank you.
takes a lot to do that. But when so many people that I work with, and the first thing I generally start with a client on is around clarity and finding that passion and finding what that. Basically, I try to help people write the ideal story of themselves. So at a young age, and with things going on, how were you able to find that clarity around what was next for you?
Great question.
I want to say it was based off of a foundation of humility, I think, and gratitude. Gratitude. I think life is way too short for you to complain about anything that isn't the vision forward, or anything that isn't your personal vision forward, mostly just because, like, I know for sure I wouldn't be able to open up a construction company. I would probably do bad at it. But having a media company and having that clarity of I want to say perhaps gift, or at the very least, it was something that I believed if I put in enough repetition, I would get good at it.
That's a really important point that we need to highlight that one, DJ. When we
Right?
get through Cast Magic, put in the reps, and nobody else can put in the reps for you. It's just like going to the gym, so you have to put them in. So you've accepted the fact that it's something that's really worth doing. Is worth doing, maybe poorly at first until you can get your hands around it and figure it out.
Yeah, 100%.
Uh,
100%.
that's Black Mamba mentality right there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's Kobe. That's Kobe Bryant all day. I mean, that was his belief entirely. Was I mean, that's why he did. He strategically would work out, so he did 3 workouts a day while everybody else did 2, and
Yeah.
he just knew because of reps. Regardless, he would eventually be better.
So what was it about this type of media that was attractive to you?
Just how we're talking now. Actually, what was really cool is I just had lunch with a lead that I have, and it wasn't like I was selling them anything. It was a lead to have them on the podcast. So
Good for you.
it's just the authentic candor and conversation that I kind of steal from the Tim Ferriss method, to where if you just start something and you do it long enough, people should pay attention eventually. And so that's kind of what got me started in it. Is I think the world lacks a lot of, I want to say, empathy, where people are too focused on the day to day, and because of that, because it's this world of competition as opposed to collaboration,
Mhm.
people are missing certain aspects, certain key points, I should say.
Yeah, Tim Ferriss. We've talked about this a few times on the show, but his book Tribe of Mentors, where he kind of goes through a lot of his guests. One of the things that stood out to me was something you said earlier. Was so many of them they said a key to their success was gratitude journal,
Hmm.
and you used the word gratitude earlier, and so I'm right there with you. I think that's a huge part of being thankful for what we have, what's to come,
Yeah.
what we've experienced, and just be grateful for any opportunity that comes before us.
Well, Coach, I don't know if it was proven on a vibrational level or how they proved it, but I mean, it's been proven that with gratitude, all the other bad emotions are impossible. You just can't feel them. Uh, it doesn't happen. So, like, just having gratitude or finding a reason to be grateful. Again, that's start off the day listing a few things. And I think, yeah, you just if you can always go back to that gratitude, that's huge to really hold on to.
Yeah. So and so now that you've made the transition, so you went from a very regimented lifestyle to a lifestyle where now there's not somebody else driving you to do the right thing. So tell us about that transition to being your own boss.
Yeah, so I definitely want to talk about this. So it was the first week because I would usually wake up at either 4:30 or 5 in the morning to get to PT. PT means physical training for all you military termers. And the first week after, I woke up exactly at 4:30, and I remember taking a sip of water, and I was putting on my PT gear, like the yellow shirt, blue shorts. I was lacing up my shoes, and I realized I'm not in the military anymore. So it was ritualistic, and it was for a week where I would wake up with the urgency, and it was actually the second week where I started waking up at 6:30 instead of 5:30 or 4, or when I was actually still working with the naval police, sometimes 3 in the morning. So I woke up at 6:30 and I was in fear of my life that my commanding not my commanding officer, my senior leadership was going to call me or like kick down my door. And there was nobody there. There was nobody there.
And so have you transitioned into leading into so what type of a routine do you use in the morning now? Because I think morning routine is really important and going from one that was so regimented to creating your own. What have you found to be successful now in this new life?
I actually used to try to run a mile every morning as soon as I woke up, especially if PT was at like, let's say 6:30. I would try to run a mile beforehand. Uh, I had like the David Goggins mentality of who's going to carry the boats. I was just in that mindset. But I've actually been waking up a little later and later. So I usually wake up at 7 now, and I have a morning ritual actually. So instead of it being physical, I ask myself, well, what would I be proud of before I died? And I try to reflect on that. So it instead of it being a physical ritual of me sharpening myself in that sense, I try to do a mental one just because I can go to the gym anytime. Now I could go to Muay Thai training is usually in the evening, so but I could run a mile anytime I want. There's not a 9 to 5 keeping me with a set schedule. So yeah, that's been the biggest transition of freedom, I think, is moving my fitness, but also putting the mental reinforcement first and foremost forward, as opposed to putting it like on the back burner.
Wow. So even with the martial arts, there's a lot of mental discipline that's required there too. So you seem to be attracted to discipline in its various forms. How has that, do you think, shaped the success that you've had since you've gotten out of the Navy?
My my original coach, his name is Juni Sunga. He actually owns one of the self-made training facilities out in California. He would always tell me, "You have to take one to give one. You have to take a punch to give one." So I think when it comes to discipline, it's knowing that your days will be hard, but at the end of it, at the end of your struggle, at the end of your trials, there should be a reward, even if the progress isn't what you envisioned. There's actually a quote I think you told me. It was, all successful people worked hard, but not all people who work hard will be successful. So you still have to work hard anyway.
Awesome.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
I
Another bookmark.
mean,
Another
I,
bookmark, DJ.
market cast magic, and since we're talking about it, we will throw that up there. So cast magic is you got to try this out, guys. Bo, got to try this out. Cast magic is amazing. It's the magic behind the scenes. It's AI. It's what really it's what coach is mentioning. But it really just helps us kind of break down. So Thursdays will, for anybody who's catching this or live now, we will recap this and go through a lot of what this gold that the Beau is dropping. Cast Magic will definitely pick it up. But so again, we have Beau here with Deseo Media. I'll throw this up because I didn't get to throw that up in the beginning.
A
Yes. And but so Beau, again, discipline. You nailed it. He clearly enjoys the discipline and is a student of the discipline. And that's I think that's what life in the end is all about, is balance and discipline. But uh, how at a young age, and Coach, you've worked with so many different people. I mean, at a young age, where do you think he can go? I mean,
Uh,
unbelievable
yeah,
with the mindset that he.
there's no limit. Right now, the ages of folks that I'm working with range from teenage to retirement age type, and I would say the same thing if he was 65. There's still so much room for us to grow. If you think you're at the
Yeah.
top of the mountain, it's a false summit. There's still room to grow. But where you are now, Beau, man, this is the world is your oyster, so to speak. You've got a
Thank you.
lot of good things going on. I'm
Yes,
excited
sir.
for you.
Yeah, same here, same here. So, so as far as guest, who is your ideal guest on the show, and who have you had? Is there anybody you can talk about? Any special guest or any cool stories you've heard from recent guests?
Yeah, so I'll start with my target audience. The podcast isn't necessarily focused on, say, like education or business or self improvement, but that is like the niche I'm putting on BuzzFeed, or no, I'm sorry, not BuzzFeed. It's called
Buzzsprout,
Buzzsprout.
Buzzsprout. Yeah.
It'll shotgun it out. I don't have a target audience. My first episode was Coach Adam Malahan. He has a gym out in Newport News, Virginia. He is the owner of Shift Combat Sports. He has now, I think it was the championship fight in Delaware, but now he has a couple champions under his belt, a couple national
Mhm.
champions. Episode 2 was the owner of a baker. So two completely drastic different
Love it.
characteristics. So it's really just personal stories.
Good.
Yeah, I parrot Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss's advice. If you wanted to start a podcast and you don't want to niche down, just have people on your podcast and be interesting, and just talk to them like you would your friend. And honestly, that's what I've been doing. And I think that's how I try to portray myself, is I'm just some dude. I'm just some dude who's trying, and I just enjoy talking. Like if Steve Jobs was in the room, I'd enjoy talking to you guys just as much as I would Steve Jobs. It's not really a contest of, oh, he's more popular, he has more following. I think people are just interesting, and everybody can learn something from anybody. And so that's yeah, that's I don't know how else to put it. I think
Yeah.
people are interesting. As
So
far as
with all the millions of possibilities, I'm sorry to cut you off. With all the millions of possibilities, what was it about DJ that stood out that said I'm gonna reach out to this dude? Because
Yeah.
we're just
Tell me.
we're just a couple of dudes too. So what made him
yeah,
stand out?
so this is actually one of the biggest things that I have learned in life, and I'm glad that you both you both champion it, where you say feed the good wolf. So it was a story of when I was personally managing my anger management, because I unfortunately have a bit of um, a violent troubled past, especially sometimes in school. And at the time, I was talking to Coach Juni, and he was saying that like there's a war of two wolves. One is of light, one is of dark, and necessarily you aren't anything other than the one that you feed, because they both live within you. And that's why when DJ was talking about feeding the good wolf, it because like let's say you feed the bad wolf, like just hypothetically, you're probably doing drugs, you're probably in jail, you just all the things that I think about of being feeding the bad wolf. It speaks of a story of you. I don't know, like anything that you could really think that is bad, like doing drugs, being in jail, hurting your wife, hurting your kids. Whereas if you feed the good wolf, you are fostering a community of light. You're fostering a community of positivity, and hence feed the good wolf. And That's really why I reached out, was because he was championing that, and it's something that I hold dear to my heart. I think is it's the War of Two Wolves. I think it's a Native American story, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it
Ah, okay.
is.
Yeah,
It sure is. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
The War of
that story changed my life. I mean, that's what started this whole thing. But
Two.
yeah, it was. I heard Matthew McConaughey again, born and raised, being a mix of Mexican and Italian, and with a few other things. Catholic is that hard. So, and we're not going to go into the whole religion thing. But yeah, I had a whole journey, and I'm a very simple person, and again, that's I think what and me and Coach says it a lot. He says, life is not simple, but we're trying to simplify it. I
Mm.
think things just need to be simplified, and so nothing is really simple. But if you could just make it very basic, like that, like yes, okay, forget this. Oh, well, we're this, and no, you're this spirit and that and this. We're all the same. We got a battle of a good thing and a bad thing. We're all that. Or this meat bag full of this. It made sense to me. So yeah, I'm like, okay, great. Yeah, that's what I feel. So now when I'm feeling kind of bad because I know I did what I did wrong. Like that, I was feeding the bad wolf, and and that's like, if we can all just get to that. And so, yeah, thank you for sharing that and saying that
Yeah.
that's what drove the show or what drove you to reach out. But yeah, I honestly, yeah, it changed my life and really just explained. I was just on this journey, and again, we won't get into that craziness, but yeah,
Well,
it was
you seem so calm and measured now.
yes.
It's hard to imagine a deep anger. So you I've got to guess, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm going to guess you had some really good, strong mentors in your life that kind of helped you. You mentioned a coach, but how did you choose? How did you make that choice? What helped you see that, man, I've got an option here. I can either go the good way or the bad way. How did you get through that?
Mhm.
We are the sum total of our choices. We're the sum total of our choices, and you could live a life that inspires somebody, that gives hope and breeds chances of inspiration, or you could live a life where you take and you don't give back. You take and you destroy. You take and there'll be nothing left for you to give, or there'll be nothing left to take from. Um, I just wanted to be a kinder person, a stronger person.
And before we got on the air, DJ was telling me that I'm not sure if this is the right generation or not, but first generation from the Philippines.
Yeah, yeah. So my mom and dad are Filipino, born and raised. I was born here in America. Um, my family immigrated from the Philippines, I think, in the 80s. I think. I think. So 1982, I believe, is when my parents got here.
So between the Mexican, Italian, the Filipino, and a little old Southern redneck, we could have a really great cookout if we all decide to get together in person.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, definitely. No,
Cool. So, well, that's exciting to me. First generation. What has that experience been like?
yeah,
Um,
sure.
well, for as long as I can remember, I grew up pretty poor, so there's the financial aspect. On the other side of the spectrum, I never felt like I truly fit in with, like, say, um, a white community, a black community, and sometimes even like another Asian community. I felt, but I think that that happens when you're young and you're not sure who you are yet. But as far as being a first generation American, like, I speak English pretty good.
Yeah.
My Tagalog, it's passable. I'm not very literate. If you start speaking to me in Tagalog and you start asking philosophic questions and life questions like what we're doing now, I'm probably going to look at you like, I have no idea what you just said. Yeah, yeah. So it's, other
Yeah.
than that, it's been a blessing. Oh, one thing I actually love talking about is I was born in a three generation household. which is very common in most first generation Americans' lives. So I always had my grandmother and my grandfather in the picture before they passed away. So yeah, it was my grandmother, grandpa, and then my mom and dad, and then me and my brothers and my sister.
Was that on the West Coast?
Yeah, I'm from San Diego,
Yeah, so I guess the Navy brought you to Virginia Beach
the
area.
East Coast. Yeah, I'm fairly nomadic. I don't really care where I am, where I go, but I really like how green it is here. Like it's also a little slower. I think tunnel traffic is pretty bad, but as DJ knows,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, tunnel
That's
traffic.
another story.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
yeah.
That is another story for sure. Wow. Okay, Coach, you look like you were going to say something.
Well, there's so many experiences I've had with some of my friends that are Filipino, and good times, and so there are times like this where I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say or not allowed to say.
Shoot,
But we've
go
had
for it.
it always came back down to the food. What I used to tell them, I'm like, man, you guys are just like rednecks. There's no part of an animal that you want to eat. There's there, and the greatest thing in the world is chicharrones, the pork skin, and oh, so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
The thing I couldn't get down with was deniguan.
Wow, me too. I hate it. I can't. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
Okay, well,
Dinigo
now what is that?
yeah,
Tell me what that is.
It's
Dinigo on.
pig blood stew.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
bleh,
Okay.
not a
Yeah,
fan.
not a fan.
fan.
Not a fan. If you
But
are a fan
DJ,
out there,
you see,
shout it in the
DJ,
comments now.
it
And
always comes
speak.
to food with me.
Yes, yeah. Well, this is Mr. Barbecue. So Beau, I told you he's only an hour south of us. We got to get him up over here already so we can meet and get some of this barbecue I keep hearing about. But shout out to you. That's a BNI peep right there. Didn't know he had a podcast as well. But shout out, Kenneth. What's up, man? Thank you for listening. Um, so Beau. What's next? Obviously, I mean, you got the podcast. The vision is the growing slowly, the Mosey way, give. But I mean, what long term? What's the real the big vision? 5 years from now, where would you like to see, or where would you like to be? You clearly a methodical. You like to think things out, which is good. So, what in 5 years? Where do you see the podcast and Deseo Media?
I think it was kind of funny that this comes from a staff member. They were asking me what comes next and what would I buy. And so, a little bit of background. I do have two rental properties, so I'm in real estate as well. I like to invest in real estate. But they asked me what I would buy, and I looked at them, and I wonder if you guys will resonate with this. I told them I would be successful if I can pay them a living salary and if I can pay for like all their benefits, like dental, life insurance. I'd pay for their auto insurance if I was successful enough. That's how I deem success, is when there's an African phrase called Ubuntu. I am because we are. And so the people that work with me, I wouldn't get where I am without them. So if I'm able to make big bucks, quote unquote, I'd want them to be successful too, or make much more than, like, let's say a podcast editor or a creative director would make anywhere else, that I'd be able to provide that for them. So I'd like to see that in the next 5 years. I know that's kind of a blanketed answer, but there's nothing more than me being able to provide them with that type of lifestyle. As far as the podcast, just interviewing more people. Um, I think eventually I'd like to interview. My dream interview would be to interview Manny Pacquiao, and we could have the podcast in Tagalog too. I'd have to brush up on my Tagalog and stuff, but to like interview Pacquiao. Um,
That's
yeah,
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I've already got shout out to Chris Hively. He is the MapQuest co-founder. He was saying yes to being on my podcast, so I have him as a yes. Just it's a pending date. But another person I got to say yes to was actually my YouTube childhood crush. Her name's Happy Slip, or Christina Gambito. She's pretty big in the Filipino community, so she said yes to being on my podcast too. So
Yeah, good for you.
yeah,
That's awesome, man.
in less than 5 months, or I'm sorry, in 5 months of leaving the military, I'm moving in proximity to my goals, and I'm hitting these goals sooner than I thought. And I'm starting to think it was just a matter of moving in proximity to goals, as opposed to just re-enlisting and then trying it again, or trying it after 8 years. I just wanted to try it right away, even if it meant failing.
I'm a believer we don't really achieve goals; we grow into goals, and that's what you just described. You're growing
Yeah.
into them.
Mhm.
Thank you. That means a lot. It does mean a lot.
Agree. Coach, you got any questions? Any questions for him before we wrap up?
I don't I don't think so. This has been good. It, it's it does it did resonate again. This is 2 weeks in a row that we've had somebody that's reaching their goals faster than they expected, and it's 2 weeks in a row that they both said they started out with, "What can I do for the people that work with me?"
Yes. Give.
Okay. Crazy how that works, huh, Coach?
Crazy how that
Crazy
works.
how that works.
When you make it about others, then if you make it about others truly first, and you truly care, and you truly give, the universe will reward that. I'm a
That
firm believer.
delayed gratification. If you want to be the best leader possible, delay your gratification as long as you can. Take care of your team first. Again, culture is going to win. That's what the show's about. That's really what you're building with your man, and you nailed it, Coach. But yeah, Danielle and Tony and Beau. If you have your team, and Tony, I think, was the one who explained it last week very well. But it was our team is our customers, and if we treat our customers, which is our team, so good, they're going to treat their customers, which is actually our customers, so good. And that's really just again, it's top down leading, just leading by serving. You got to be a servant leader, and that's Beau. You're nailing it. So that's man, sky's the limit. I'm excited to see what you can do. So where can people reach out if they want to be on the podcast? If they want to see what you can do media wise for them to help out, where can they find you? Where can they reach out? How do they get a hold of Beau?
Yeah, so please reach out to me on LinkedIn with my name, Beau Deseo. You can also follow my company page, Deseo Media Company, on LinkedIn. But really, anywhere you have social media. Deseo Media Company on Facebook, Deseo Media on TikTok, Deseo Media Company on Instagram. We're going to start a YouTube page, so I guess you could reach out in the comment section there. But yeah, almost anywhere. Oh, and then on our website, DeseoMediaCompany.com.
There you go. So any final thoughts, Beau, before we end the show and wrap this up? Any lasting thoughts?
Yes. My friends, the grass is not greener on the other side. It's greener where you water. Don't forget that Rome was not built in a day, so don't attempt to do it either. Have patience with yourself. Be kind. Listen to others. But most of all, just be well and walk tall.
Yeah, we can just stop there.
We'll just stop there. I agree. So, guys, we're gonna wrap this up here. But Thursday, check out the recap. Beau, thank you again. Walk tall, y'all, and remember, like Beau said, feed the good wolf.
Feed the good wolf, y'all.
Feed the good wolf.
I'm always on the red eye. This time around, it's not even about getting paid. I'm just an addict for